Year 9, this morning we've got a problem. The big difference is today, I'm not going to give you any help, okay? So you have to use all your problem-solving strategies that you've got. You may get stuck. Don't worry about it. Go back, think about the things that you do know, think about the strategies that you have, and take it a different approach. You're going to be working in pairs. Ask the person next door to you to help you. The biggest advice I'm going to give you today, take your time. Don't rush whatever you're going to do, just take your time at it. Okay, first thing is I'm going to put the problem up on the board. I want you on your own, so it's quiet reading time. Read the problem. Take some notes. You've got some paper on your desk and some pens. Take some notes, but it's just for yourself. So it's up on the board. I just want you to have 3 or 4 minutes to yourself, digest the problem, and maybe think of an approach you're going to take. Where you go. Okay, now that you've had a little bit of time of looking at it yourselves, what are you going to be now doing for the rest of the task is working in pairs. So have a couple of minutes to discuss it together, discuss the ideas you've written down yourselves, and maybe start planning your approach.
So if there's 4 tables, so you've got 4 tables, and there's 7 people, and that's 2 people on each table. It's 1, 2, 3. And there'll be 1 left over.
Have them all, if you could just move them all around, and the player who's not playing comes on, 1 goes off, and then they just move on the table.
Yeah, so basically, we don't use table 4.
Yeah.
So then we go, so top player of player 1 moves to second, then third, then off.
Just leave another person out who's played just a minute ago, and then the person who's sat out, they could play.
You don't need 4 tables, because 1 person will be set off.
Down the back, you will find some coloured A3 sheets of paper. You'll find some counters. You'll find some felt pens. And you will find just a whole lot of paper, A3 size, that you can do your planning or scribbling or whatever you want. Okay? So it's up to you to decide what resources are going to help you solve the problem. Now, I know some of you aren't going to get finished, and that's okay. What's really important is I want you to focus on the approaches you're taking, thinking about what may work, and if you've come across a barrier, what you've done to get over that barrier. That's what we're looking at today. You've found one approach. You've found that it's not going to quite work, is it?
No.
So what do we need to do from there?
Think about it and rethink our ideas and look back and then see what will work.
Yeah.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 6. And you've got, so that's the first series of games, and then he's left out. And so they all move around, 1, and he's left out.
Them playing at one time.
Yeah, but 1 can't play 2 and 4 at the same time.
You just have like one of them, 1 and 2, 3 and 4.
You're working together, but you're still working in your pairs, so you'll come across a barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Like when it goes at 1:30, yeah, and when one game finishes, can another game start straight after?
If that's how you want to organise your tournament, yes, they can go on.
Right, so you don't have to give them a break or anything.
It's your tournament organisers, okay? So you can choose how to organise your tournament how you want.
So does it all have to be in 1 day, or does it get
Have a reread. Look at the last bottom sentence, that last few sentences there, and tell me what it says.
Put all the
shortest
information.
possible time?
Yeah? Shortest possible time. Okay? So it's up to you to decide how that's going to happen. Okay? There might be lots of answers. Okay? These people probably may come up with a different way. It's going to be okay. All right?
We're naming ours.
Brilliant.
That's number 2, and putting it right. Yeah, but it'd be easier that to there, that to there, that to there, that to there, and that to there. Is that right? Is that supposed to be?
No, 1, 2, 3. And what's number 4? 4 is black.
Red and green. So you can do it.
So then we've got player 1 playing player 7.
2 versus 6, 3 versus 5, then 4's off. And then just keep moving around.
Move them round
And
clockwise.
yeah.
One person starts off.
Yeah, and just work together and then tell me what you've run so I can draw an arrow.
Where does our last counter keep going? Actually, no, you don't use 4 for me.
There needs to be another one.
And there'll be a
outside
7th
who's
one
not
waiting while these play.
Okay.
So if each one's got its place. So 1's played 4, and 2's played 5, and 3 has played 6. So then you could swap around. So 7.
Yeah.
The next match, so that's match 1. That will take half an hour, and by then it'll be 1:30.
So you guys have got a starting point.
Yeah. I'm working out matches.
You're working out the matches.
Yeah.
Adam, what are you?
Writing down.
Okay, so you, and Esther, what part are you playing?
I'm just doing moving really.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm just.
Do you think it would have worked easier on this task with a group of 2 or 3? 3 heads?
Yeah, either. Yeah, and then he can go on this one.
This is everyone playing each other. 1 plays 2, 3 plays 4. And this row of people are out, like not playing. Right. And then changes every time.
Who hasn't one played?
No, we'll still do it again.
6, 7.
So who has
Yeah.
one played?
7's been off.
So we'll just leave
play
him for
one.
now.
Right, wait a second. He's been off.
Yeah.
6 has been off. 5's been off. 4's been off. Now 3's off.
Yeah.
What you started out with worked all the way through? You didn't come across any problems on the way through?
Yeah, it got a bit confusing with all the numbers, but yeah, there wasn't any problems.
So what did you do to reduce your confusion?
I just simplify it really, because I was doing loads of big sums, but then I realised they were wrong, so
Yeah.
I just simplified them.
Yep. You just took a step back.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
3:30 is 4 and 6 at table 1.
What I have noticed by walking around the room is that there have been so many different strategies to solve the same problem. What I want you to do is just turn around, these front people, I want you to turn around to the back people, so you're in 2 groups of 4. There's 2 questions or 2 things I want you to discuss when you start joining with the other groups. Okay? The first one is, what was the key information that got you started on the problem? The next one is your approach. What did you use and what did you find most helpful to solve your problem within your group? I only want to spend 5 minutes on that, so I really want you to be quite efficient when you're talking to each other.
We had someone at one time, we changed the person out at one time as we were at the table. So one of
What we've been doing is that each time we're not going to use all 4 tables, we're only going to use 3 of them, like you did. And what's going to happen is they're going to move around each time, so one person's going to be off, and there's going to be players, and they're going to rotate, so everybody gets to play with each other.
I did the table tennis task with our Year 9 group. The most common one was the rotation of the table. We had a group here who created another sort of table with just pen and paper and then transferred it to counters. We had a group here who went straight to trying to work it out with maths, the amount of games that needed to be played and the time, and their result, they came up with how many hours and would need to complete it, but not necessarily how the league was going to be played. And then our group here, which got through, had done a very systematic approach of listing all the players who needed to play each other, and then drew up a league for the players to follow, so that if you're a table tennis player and you were number one, that you could tell exactly what table you're going to play on. So those were the main approaches that I saw, but I was surprised to see that this was the most common approach.
This was a Year 7 group that did the same activity, middle ability Year 7 group, and again the rotation appeared, and this couple of students, I was wondering where they were going with this table, but they did go from that into the triangular representation. But I think they were deciding to work out how many games altogether and just divide that by the number of tables to get their time, which was a common misconception that was coming up with the Year 7s and needed more time to unpick as to why, or it indeed sort of did that lead to any problems.
Interestingly, with my Year 9 group, which is the same ability range roughly as yours, only one group came up with a sort of rotating system. And they had realised that if they went round once, that they wouldn't necessarily have played everybody. And had put in a proviso then, when you get back to the same opposition, you've got to play somebody you've not already played. They've got their table that's not in use, and with the person who's not playing can go off and have lunch. And so, that was the only group to actually look at it like that. But there were one or two interesting things. Using letters of the alphabet for the teams, and here very specifically recognising that they can't play each other, and so we're only got 6 matches, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, identifying that the triangle number there is 21 matches. But they personalised it, and they actually...
Did they pick up the triangle number?
No, they didn't. But they have got the triangle, which is, so that's a shame, which would have been a nice development, but they didn't pick up on that, unfortunately. And then coming up with the league, where they've then obviously turned the letters into names and personalised it. Most of them came up with very similar sort of idea of listing all the possibilities in a systematic way and coming up with the 21 possibilities. One group, though, did a table like that and have recognised that you can't play yourself, and then have said green versus red was the same as red versus green, and coded it with a 1. And that is a table of possibilities, that they came up with without any prompting at all. Interestingly, at the end of it, I did ask them what maths they thought that they'd got out of this, because there weren't obvious calculations, and I just wondered what they thought the maths was. One of them felt that they'd used algebra because they'd used letters for notation. Another one said that it was the listing of the combinations they actually thought was maths. Another one said that the use of time, but problem solving was the thing that came up, and the thinking, although there was another group that felt that artwork and diagrams with a purpose was also important, which we had asked them, to come up with a poster, and some of them really found that the diagrams helped, actually.
But I think what's really important is that there's so many different types of notation that they're using, and by not saying go down this route, that they're using something that works for them.
Exactly.
And we couldn't have predicted that these would be the ways of recording them. Being systematic was a key point of this task. To have success, they needed a system.